And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho, and today we're talking about a large sunspot group rising in the northeast, as well as a coronal mass ejection happening once again while we make the video. We'll get to it. Likelihood of solar flares has gone up. And again, there's a coronal mass ejection propagating as we make the video. We see this rising sunspot. 2822, I believe, will be the number of this one. It's 100% going to get a name. It's very large. It's got very well-defined umbrae. Here it is in the magnetogram view. Great view of the magnetic fields of the latest sunspot group. And we can expect to see an uptick in the radio flux associated with this as well. Sunspot 2822. Here's the coronal mass ejection we're talking about. It's too early to see this on the LASCO C2 or C3, but we do see it on stereo A. So you can see this somewhat Earth vicinity coronal mass ejection kicking off as we make the video, and it's the reason we went live today for this content. Anyway, the coronal mass ejection is coming from this area down here. This filament that we've been watching for days is finally in the process of releasing. Right at the end, you'll see a little poof right about here. And that is sort of the moment of filamentary release. Right there, you could barely see it. And it's, again, just propagating now. So this hasn't fully released or anything like that yet. This could take many hours. We'll probably make another video later in the day showing that. Also, I would note that today's cosmology and meteorology segments will be separate videos, much like they were yesterday. Here's another full disk view, or a full disk view. I think this is the first one we've shown. It's 304 angstroms. Great view of the rising sunspot and associated filaments with it, helium filaments. And here's some more data for you. Here's where things are in the solar system currently. There's where things will be in a week. Here's a star chart. And I face mine to the south, and I draw in the ecliptic. If you want to make your own star chart, head to in-the-sky.org. You may see Jupiter and Saturn, as well as the moon out there near the ecliptic if you've got a clear sky before dawn. The radio flux has come up to 71, and expect a precipitous uptick in this, as that rising sunspot group in the northeast is large and highly charged. Here's the radio flux in the 1-year chart, this black line here. We want to put it in context by showing this daily. The radio flux, the most proportional data set to sunspot number, which is the red line shown beneath. No solar storms forecasted, and again, we'll have to do some further analysis on the currently ejecting coronal mass ejection to figure out things like its likely trajectory and whether or not it will strike Earth. It is in the Earth-facing vicinity, though. More on that later. So we're seeing an earthquake lull here. You can see only one minor 7 magnitude quake here in the past 2 months, 2 months plus. And so we're, it's a lull in earthquakes. I'll just leave it at that. And here's here's volcanodiscovery.com's earthquakes page. You can filter by magnitude, and this is quite nice. And we can see we saw a 4.7 magnitude quake near Truckee, California. So leave us a comment if you felt that. Shout out to Smash Staff's mom, who may have felt this quake. A 4.7 magnitude northwest of Lake Tahoe near the Nevada border. And we'll just scroll up the list here real quick. Again, no major quakes. A couple in the 5 magnitude. There's a deep quake at Timor-Leste as well as Chile. A couple of deep quakes there. And we'll just let the list scroll here. Leave us a comment if there's anything we missed or that you would like us to cover. Let us know in the comments section. We read all of our comments. A very deep quake near Fiji at a 4.5 magnitude and over 570 kilometers depth for that quake. Also another deep quake there in western South America at Argentina. That 4.7 magnitude quake at Truckee, California occurred at 4:35 Universal Time early this morning. Also, Philippines saw a deep quake. Continuing on, check it out. It's Cinnabung. Cinnabung has been erupting. And let's see what else is on the list. Volcanoes today at volcanodiscovery.com, a fantastic website. Subanosejima, 6,000-foot ash plume there. Cinnabung, having now produced an 18,000-foot ash plume, so uptick at Cinnabung. As the lava dome continues to increase size day by day, more explosions and pyroclastic flows can be expected in the near future. Please heed the evacuation radius of 3 kilometers at Cinnabung if you're anywhere nearby. Popocatépetl exploding in Mexico, producing a 19,000-foot ash plume. Fuego has dissipated its volcanic ash in Guatemala, Ecuador. Ecuador's volcano Sangay exploding, 22,000-foot ash plume there. That's an uptick at Sangay. Revenador also exploding, 15,000-foot ash plume. Sabancaya exploding, 24,000-foot ash plume. Soufriere has been downgraded from red to orange on the West Indian island of Saint-Vincent. A great reminder to not pole vault the caldera. This public service message brought to you by smAsho.com. Check out smAsho.com for our links. You can find all of our merch links and so on at smAsho.com, as well as links to our social media. Check it out. We saw the writing on the wall years ago. And if you're wondering, we are alt tech. Next, back to the GOES X-ray flux here over the past 3 days. And we did see some minor flaring, nearly a C-class flare, coming out of the new Sunspot as we welcome Sunspot 2822 to the naming convention of sunspots. No proton strikes, and we'll let you know later if we expect any from the coronal mass ejection that's kicking off as we make the video. The GOES magnetometer of the past 3 days, fairly smooth here. Earth is solidly in a South Pole current sheet shown here in red on the top view ecliptic plane field plot. No surprises there, and we can expect Earth to remain in a South Pole current sheet for the foreseeable future. Here's a line of sight ecliptic plane field plot, a 3-dimensional imagery of the essentially the same thing. And here's the line of sight coronal hole plot. And we do see some coronal holes here in the southern hemisphere stretching up toward the equator. So finally some features, a large sunspot group rising. So far only alpha class, we only see North Pole oriented umbrae. We'll do an analysis toward the end of the video about that. And I would note once again, we also see the sun's B field dipping down toward the south here over on the western limb. That's a good thing. That's an indication of the progression of cycle 25 as the solar polar field reversal process happens. I also wanted to show you the detected filaments. This filament down here is the one that's currently ejecting. Further analysis on that likely later in the day today. KP index currently at 0, and for you new viewers, the KP index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. And thanks to our new viewers here at Smash News Network, least busted name in news, we greatly appreciate you watching our content. Next, we'll look at the real-time solar wind. Give that a moment to load. And it's pretty uneventful here over the past 24 hours. Current solar wind density, a little over 5.5 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed very low. Background levels at 305 kilometers per second, making for a weak geospace. So here's 4 hours of geospace magnetosphere movie, courtesy University of Michigan. It's showing us magnetohydrodynamic pressure in nanopascals around the Earth, out to about a dozen Earth diameters. And we saw such a steady solar wind, not surprising to see a relatively steady magnetic pressure. Next, looking at ground magnetic perturbations, geospace delta B, we show this daily as well. 4 hours more data of ground magnetic perturbations measured in nanotesla, which is magnetic flux density. Not the same thing as magnetohydrodynamic pressure, otherwise known as nanopascals. So pretty uneventful here also during this polar excursion. Now, we are streaming live to Twitch right now. And we haven't been doing that lately, but today we brought it back. Twitch.tv/smAsho is the site. We're also on BitChute, thanks to our subscribers over there. Look for more exclusive content coming soon on BitChute. Perhaps we'll make a new video today, an exclusive for BitChute. Thanks to our YouTube subscribers as well. YouTube.com/smAsho is the main source of our content. Check out our playlists. There's lots more besides space weather. Today's cosmology segment will be a separate video, like yesterday. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. It should be another interesting one. It will feature Elon Musk and pulsars and magnetic fields and information about space weather. Speaking of space weather, let's get back to it. Here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Here's a diagram of Earth's Van Allen belts and distances to spacecraft in miles. And here is the greater than 2 mega electron volt electron flux over the past year, as reported by Solon.info. And that's electron density. Here is electron density as well over the past 3 days. To put that in further context, we see fairly normal levels of electron flux, as measured at the F ionosphere layer by the GOES 16. No charging hazards for satellites. Here's the forecast. We're expecting relatively flat levels of electron flux, similar levels over the next 3 days, according to NOAA. No arguments there. Here's a total electron content visualization, showing you the entire air column from a GPS satellite to your handset, potentially. And it's looking a little bit less anomalous. It's pretty anomalous. The structure of the location of the electron density here is anomalous and chaotic. So we featured this on our thumbnails for 2 days in a row here. We're expecting significant GPS errors around the equator, even at nighttime, and minor errors around the equator at daytime. So it's a bit of chaos going on in Earth's electron density right now. And that's why we show it. We're showing anomalies. Next, the ionosphere. This is just one slice of the atmosphere. That was electron density for the whole air column. This is vibrational frequency of just the ionosphere layer located at approximately 300 kilometers altitude. And we're seeing a chaotic and anomalous ionosphere once again. So 3 days in a row of anomalous electron belts and anomalous ionosphere data. Some weird charge downs in between the charged up portions here around the sun-facing portion. So some ionospheric anomalies and electron density anomalies shown 3 days in a row here on the Daily Space Weather. Let's bring up the latest image. This latest image from 9:45 Universal Time. Continuing on, and here's what we were just showing you. We were showing you this layer right here, just the F layer, around 300 kilometers of altitude, the ionosphere, folks. Today's meteorology segment will also be a separate video, so look for that coming later. And here come bonus features for your daily space weather. The first is the imagery from El Teide, Spain. So the latest images here are only a few minutes old, and we're expecting to see this filament possibly vanish entirely off the imagery. Let's see. Not really showing up yet. It looks like part of it may be vanishing, an indication that perhaps the entire filament is not going to eject But again, we are expecting a coronal mass ejection. Next, thanks to our patrons. Thanks to our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. Patreon.com/smAshomash if you'd like all the alerts and so on before anybody else in the world. Leave us a comment, patrons. Let us know if there's anything that you'd like to express in the comments section. Cheers to our patrons. Here come the remainder of our bonus features. This is what Sunspot 2822 looked like during show prep. You can see large ombre. They're all North Pole oriented, folks. You can see they're all blue here, an indication that they're all North Pole ombre. There could be South Pole ombre trailing that, and I think it's pretty likely as we see some flaring out of it. And let's just refresh to get the latest imagery here since we are streaming live. There's the latest image. Large, well-defined ombre there with penumbra visible as well. Here's a close-up of it. It's time to close things out. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember to stare at the sun, attempt to understand the physics, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Seriously, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, and may that solar wind be at your back.